bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this regular public meeting on September the 27th. Without delay, we'll proceed with the opening word. Dear colleagues, let's have the serenity to things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So the meeting is called to order with confirmation of quorum. Everyone is here tonight. So conflict of interest, if there's any. Is there any conflict of interest that have been presented? Is being said. Let's continue with the adoption of the agenda. We've added one item. No, one item to be withdrawn. Yes, Your Worship. Item 11.1.1 and 11.1.2. We have to look back at the information. We'll withdraw it for tonight and we'll keep it for the next meeting. And item that dealt with the elimination of garbage collection. That's this being said, do we have a motion? Mr. Trudeau move the adoption of the agenda as amended, seconded by Councillor Lotting on the question. No question. All those in favor, please say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried as presented. The agenda is adopted as amended. This brings us to item 7, presentation, inquiries, and petition. 7.1, inquiries by council members for the Kodiak Regional RCMP. Mr. Gillette is on the phone. Good evening, Mr. Gillette. Good evening, Your Worship, and members of council. Is there any members of council that would have questions, comments for Mr. Gillette tonight? Ms. Godbout, thank you. A question simply, I was wondering how did the opening of school went on in the city? Buses, accidents, did everything went well, or do you have any comments to make? Thank you for the question. Obviously, every morning, Monday morning and in the afternoon, it will be more vigilant because we have 42 schools for which we are responsible in the greater Dieppe area. We've noticed a lot of smiles from the parents who noticed we were present. And the reminder is that everyone who go in the morning in school zone is to keep your eyes on the highway and be very careful because there are several signs that indicates the speed, and we have to be careful. Children are walking, and I would like to mention that in the school zone, our RCMP, who are part of the community team, have started to do the test in every schools in Greater Moncton. Maybe you've heard about it. Everything must be done by October the 30th. We wanted to do it 1 month early. So we are well started on that. Every schools are ready and that all the schools and the staff be aware of the steps that they have to take. Any other questions, members of council? I don't see any. So, Miss Inspector Gillette, we wish you a good evening if you have to leave. I know your schedule is very heavy. Have a good day. Thank you very much. Item 7.2, presentation and final report on the review of municipal policies related to community grants. I don't know if it's Ms. D'Autremont who will take the mic or if there's introduction from from the service from Mrs. Cormier. Good evening. Good evening, Your Worship. Yes, Ms. D'Autremont, as you know, it's the last step of the revision of our 10 policies for community grants. She'll present the report with her recommendation and the main headlines where we're at. If there's question, I'll be in the room with her. I invite Ms. D'Entremont to take the floor and come to the mic. Thank you, and thank you to the Dieppe Council. Good evening, Your Worship. Good evening, members of Council. I'm here tonight to present the main headline of the step that was taken, the revision of the municipal policies concerning the policies for community grants. So it's been a few months that those steps have been undertaken. At the outset, I would like to mention the excellent cooperation that I received from all the employees with whom I had to deal with. It was fantastic. I interviewed 8 employees, uh, among them some more than once. It was mostly by Zoom, so it was really well done. All the employees gave me their full cooperation. I asked information. I had questions that I would prepare for them. And during the interview, I asked other questions. They were very honest with me, and the collaboration was excellent. As you know, I discussed with you as members of council, as you know. It was very interesting. Another facet of the project was to examine similar policies that exist in other municipalities and try to take out exemplary practices on the matter. And therefore, without any further delay, and you have the report, I would like to talk to you about recommendations that I have. As for the rest, when you're rested, you can read them. But what I notice is that your policies, there's not major problems. There's no fire ongoing. And I really went to see is there major problems? Uh, how are the employees? Even though I tried, there was no answer that that things was not going well. Everything is going great. I said there's no major problems, but let's look at these policies. One thing that I noticed very early in the exercise is that their policies have been implemented at different time. It's like it's happened. Sometimes we have a policy, another challenge come about, and we want to adopt a brand new policy. And sometimes the time is lacking, and maybe we could have amended an existing policy or add part to a policy, but we added a full policy. Maybe that's why you'll find yourself with so many policies, and a few policies are similar, and maybe they should be part and parcel of one policy. That's one of the things I noticed. The other two aspect on which I would like to focus with you tonight, and it's generalized among most of the policies. Quite often, there's a lack of clear criteria in some policies, not all of them. Also, when we talk about the account uh, reductions, some policies could be bona fide. Don't be afraid to ask your organization to supply uh, bills that are owed. Uh, other cities. For instance, we can ask annual reports, we can ask financial statements, we can ask a list of members of their board of directors. There's all kinds of things we can ask. And quite often, within the policy, we see that the city or the cities reserve the right to ask the organizations whatever they want. We don't have to really say A, B, C, D, a full list of accounts to be made account of. But depending on the circumstances, ask the question. Among what I've noticed, there is the need to simplify the process for the applicant, for the staff, and you, the elected members. In several cities, we find on the website the whole policy. We find some menus. If you're an organization, what kind of organization? We give the option of policy or the request that we can make because we're part of a certain group of organization and so on and so forth. So if you could make your policies more friendly, especially for the applicants we you meet the need of transparency, and these two would meet the necessity to standardize some policies to facilitate its access. The absence of criteria are clearly established for some policies. So in some policies, it's lacking. That's a lack. The necessity to develop a structure to explain the agreement with some organization in the regions in order to give them some grants. We talk about the agreements you have with some organizations and then consideration of a grant and financing program per project for the association instead of basic financing. The employees told me on several occasions it would be good to privilege not necessarily a basic financing or no financing, but go towards a financing by project, if you wish. And that's something that several employees raised. So at the end of revision process review, I've formulated three kinds of recommendations. I grouped them together. Groups as to the content, recommendation to the process, and recommendations as to the implementation. So I try to give you a match plan, if you wish, so that in 1 year from now, somebody says, what happened with that report and that exercise? I'm proposing a step to follow. It's up to you to implement it if you so wish. But I thought at length to try and give you kind of a match plan to be able to arrive at a conclusion. So I will simply go through the recommendation quickly. As for the content, I propose that the city undertake a comprehensible process of understanding of all the policies with the help of a gallery that would be as follows. I try to propose a strategy so that you would give yourself a strategic plan and a gabarite that would be used not only to review the policies you presently have, but for all the future policies that would be developed in the future. I say that the title that I'm recommending may not apply to all the policy. It depends, but each policy you should ask yourself, okay, well, this in this case is there a reason to do something under that's the strategic plan as to the content that I'm proposing to you. Then recommendation two, that is the city should develop something to structure the available provisions of the agreements that you have with different organizations and institutions from the regions. You have several agreements, so I'm proposing to give yourself program so that the title or subtitle of all these agreements should be similar. Organization A, we find the same title in the agreement as Organization B.
N'hésitez pas aussi,
And
à répondre là-dedans aussi.
it,
Le dernier point, si on revient à la
the last point,
recommandation
if we
1,
come back to
établir un
recommendation
régime
one, the
clair
last thing that I'm recommending,
et
and
ça manque dans plusieurs de vos
it
policies,
lacks
un
in
calendrier
several
de
policies,
révision
it's a
obligatoire de la politique.
calendar
Ça,
of
c'est
a review
essentiel.
that is
Les
compulsory. That's
services
essential.
juridiques
You have
doivent
policies that
examiner
date of a few
spécialement
years
lors de
back.
chaque
It would be
politique
good
que vous mettez en
in
bas.
each policy that you should put
Cette
on
politique
at the
devrait être
bottom. This
révisée
policy
au
should
moins
be
à tous les 3 ans,
revised
4
at
ans,
least
vous
every
choisissez
three,
un
4,
chiffre.
5 years.
Puis,
Choose a figure.
puis à
Choose,
ce moment-là, ben, ça
and
semble
by
qu'il n'y a pas
at
besoin
that
de
time,
révision, mais au cas où
maybe
s'il y a
there's no
besoin,
need, but at least you're
si
doing the
l'employé
exercise,
vous
and the
présente
staff
l'état de la révision,
give you the
si
state of the revision. And if the
a besoin d'être
policy
révisé,
doesn't have to be
modifié,
reviewed or
modifié,
amended,
mais au
they'll
moins
tell
vous
you.
avez un droit de
But
regard
at least you have a right to
à toutes vos
of
politiques. Ça,
looking to all your policies at a given time, and
la
that's important.
recommandation 3,
Recommendation
ça
number
vient
three,
de,
and this came
peu de vos
about
employés
because
m'ont dit
few of your
c'est le
employees
seul
told
exemple
me
qui est
is the
ressorti.
only example that came out
Le
that
terme jeunesse
the term
est,
youth
défini
is defined
une couple de différentes façons de réviser notre
uh,
politique. Ça,
different
ça peut être pour des
ways
révisions
for different
spécifiquement que
policies
je vous
that could
propose de vous
be
donner un
confusing. So
glossary
I
de
recommend to have a
termes
glossary of
appliqués
terms that
normalement à la ville de
you
Dieppe, pas seulement pour
use
le
at the
site
city of Dieppe,
mais
not only for these
pour tous
policies,
vos
but
dossiers.
for all your
Donc, un
files.
glossaire de termes
So
sur
a
votre
term
web.
glossary
Et là, quand vous
that
êtes en
you
train de
would have on
réviser
the
votre
website and when
politique,
you're
vous
reviewing
devriez avoir
documents,
une
whether
base
it's
de données
policies,
et on
annual
sait de quoi on
report, or
parle, on sait
anything,
comment
we know what we're talking about
fournissez
when we talk about youth.
exactement
We know
quelle
exactly,
révision
and
faire.
there's not two different
Il y a beaucoup d'autres
definitions.
mots qui sont
There's
ressortis,
no other
mais
words
ensuite,
that
si
came
les
out of the
employés
exercise, but that
le demandent
example
par
was given to me
courriel,
by a
on va le
few
faire.
employees.
Euh, la recommandation 4,
Recommendation
c'est
number four.
vraiment une recommandation qui
This is
vient
really a
de
recommendation
vraiment
that
cibler un arrêt
includes several ideas that I had,
multisémial,
but the word
ont été examinés par la
conveyable
politique d'ailleurs.
came out when I was
Je
looking at the
pense que vous
policies,
essayez, là,
and
vous
I
essayez
think
de
that I
l'avoir à
tried.
la bonne
It
place,
was
vous
not the good
essayez
words at the right place, but I tried
bien
to put
entendu, les
everything
recommandations ne
together
pas avoir
in one
d'interférence.
recommendation so that I
Que
wouldn't
la
have
ville de Dieppe
20 that the city of
demande,
Dieppe
c'est
in order to
souligné
make the
à plusieurs
process more
reprises,
simpler
le
and
demandeur
friendly for
développe
the
des éléments
applicant.
tels que
Develop elements such
des
as
formulaires
guides,
téléphoniseurs, des formulaires de demande en
uh,
ligne
formula
avec des
of
menus
requests online with
ainsi que des
good
éléments
menus
visuels
as well as
sur lesquels
visual and
calculer la
graphic
valeur des
requests
schémas
such as
sur un
diagram
tableau qui
and a
correspondent
table
que le
chart that
demandeur
could
met à sa
help the
politique
applicants
et
towards the
que
appropriate
toutes les politiques soient
application and all the
accessibles sur le
policies
site.
be available on the
Les
website.
employés m'ont dit que
So the
certaines
employees told me
politiques
that some of the
n'étaient pas
policies do
sur le
not
web, donc
appear on
c'est
the
difficile
website,
à
so it's
comprendre,
hard
formuler
to
des
know how we
requêtes.
can
Si
formulate
si on ne sait pas que la
a
politique
request if
existe.
we don't know that the
Donc, j'ai
policy
exprimé tous
exists.
éléments
I
dans la
know that's a
recommandation
lot of
4
elements in the recommendation
qui fait
for,
en
but
sorte qu'on
everything that
facilite
make it that we
l'accès aux
facilitate the
politiques
access to the policies
pour les demandeurs.
for the
La recommandation 5, la
applicant.
Ville de
Formula
Dieppe
number five that
considère
city
aussi
of the
un
app
volet sur le
considered
retour
to
sur
add a
investissement
facet on
et
the return
l'exploitation
on
communautaire.
investment for
C'est
community
facile là,
in,
nous sommes des
institutions.
employés
It's not easy
qui ont
to
mentionné
document that, but a
et
few employees
j'ai
mentioned
dit
it, and I said that
considérer l'ajout. J'ai dit ça
you
c'est
should
normal, ça
consider
devrait
the addition. I'm not
attirer
saying we should
l'attention de la
do it,
partie
but there
personnelle
should be some
pour
evaluation from the
faciliter
staff to see if it's
l'implémentation.
appropriate
Que
to
la
be
ville de
done in some
Dieppe,
cases. The city of
souhaiterait
Dieppe,
que
number
la ville de
six,
Dieppe
the
considère un
city of
programme de
Dieppe consider a
financement
grant
par
or
projet pour le
financing per
secteur
project
associatif afin de
for the
renforcer
associative
l'aide aux communautés à
project to
l'autonomie
better
de construire et
as
d'exploiter
the
des équipements
community to help with the
sportifs.
city with the
Donc, c'est là
objective
que
of
je
the
vais faire le
city.
lien avec
This
votre
is where you
stratégie
make a link
financière
with your
et ça.
strategic plan, your values, and everything else.
La
Seven,
ville
that the
désire
city of the app,
simplifier le
in
processus
order
pour
to
les demandeurs,
simplify the
c'est-à-dire la
application,
réduction du nombre de
reduce the
politiques
number of
pour les actions
policies
communautaires et
for
réduire
community grants
l'utilisation des 4 politiques
in
suivantes.
order
Donc, ces quatre
for the
politiques
four following policies
L16 à
L6,
L21
L16,
mentionnent
L21,
quelles sont les
A37.
politiques qui
These are
suscitent selon
policies
vous, qui ont
that are similar. They have a lot in
Ce
common,
serait pas mauvais
and it wouldn't be
de
bad. It
faire
would
ça. Donc,
to
d'une
put
politique,
everything in one
de
policy.
poser la même
I
question
asked
à
the
tous les
same
employés
question
de
to
la
all the
municipalité,
employees
12-13
during
entrevues-là, et
those
puis
12 or 13 interviews that
si
I
les
had.
politiques
These are
étaient
the only policies that
sur lesquelles ils étaient
the
d'accord,
people on which the people agreed that we should standardize. There
ce qui est
might be
ressorti dans les
some
statistiques.
more, but it did not come out as
Euh,
such.
Par rapport au processus
As
et aux
for the
deux
process,
recommandations,
now two recommendations.
je propose que la Ville de Dieppe
I
entame un
moved
exercice de
that the city of
consultation
Dieppe
publique
undertake
afin
an
d'apaiser
exercise
la
from the
communauté
public
de
to allow
comment
the
il est
community to
possible de
comment the
mettre
hiring
de
of
l'avant
new
une vision
policies
dont vous
through the
avez un
platform
outil
Dieppe, where you have a
lorsque
tool
viendra le temps
to be used when the
de
time
proposer
comes
des nouvelles
to
politiques.
propose new
Ce
policies.
serait une bonne idée
It would be a good idea
les afficher
to
publiquement
post
et
them
permettre
as a draft
aux gens
and to allow the people to comment on them.
aussi
Also,
que la ville de Dieppe
that the
examine
city of
l'option
Dieppe
de
examined the
permettre aux communautés
possibility of
de
allowing the
commentaires
community to share their
concernant les
comments
organismes qui pourraient
concerning the
bénéficier des fonds
organization that should
municipaux.
benefit from municipal
Il y a peut-être des raisons.
uh,
Donc ça, c'est une bonne
grants.
idée.
Maybe
C'est
there's a
juste
reason why it's not a good
ça
idea.
donne la
That's why I said
possibilité de propagande.
study the possibility. I did not
Ça, c'est
recommend
quelque chose qui est
I
ressorti
did not recommend that
des
they'd be done,
discussions.
but this could
Notre
come out of
dernière
discussion. The
recommandation, c'est par
last two
rapport à l'implémentation.
recommendations have to do with the
Le
implementation.
partenariat
The first one,
personnel de la
that
ville
the staff of the
élabore un
city
plan d'action
develop an
assorti d'un
action plan
calendrier pour
with a
guider les
calendar to
élèves dans la
guide the
recommandation de la
implementation
ville
of the recommendation formula
plus tard le 31
in this
mars
undertaken
2022.
no later than March the
Il y aura une
31st,
nouvelle action
2022.
en
But
fonction
another
du
date that was probably,
ça donnait pas assez de
well,
temps.
did not give enough time.
Puis
So
là, on a discuté, puis on est tombé sur la date
it
du
was
31
discussed and
mars.
we came on March the
Ça
31st. I'm
semble être
aware that
OK
between
pour
now and
ça.
then you have
C'est
your
la
budget and
saison.
everything else. I
Alors,
understand the
on
season,
a
but
voulu
so
donner
we
peut-être
wanted to give
plus
enough
de temps
time
pour que le personnel de
to
Dieppe
allow the
lit
staff to
ce plan-là.
develop
Et
that
ensuite, la
plan.
dernière
And the
recommandation,
last
le plan
recommendation
d'action
that the action
présente
plan
des initiatives à court
presents some
terme,
initiative on
moyen terme,
short
à long
term, middle
terme,
term, and long
et toutes
term,
les
and
initiatives
all the
doivent être
initiatives
complétées et
should be
approuvées par le
completed and
conseil
approved by the
au plus
council
tard le 31
no
décembre
later than December
2023.
31st,
Donc,
2023.
je
So
crois que
there again,
on
I
me
think
dit en tout cas que c'est
I'm
faisable,
told that
que
it's
ce serait faisable
possible,
sans
it
trop
can be done
être trop serré.
without
Et
being
puis,
too tight.
ce sont les
And
membres de votre
the,
personnel qui
it's the members of your
savent
staff who
quelle
know
politique presse le
what
plus pour eux. Donc,
policies
je vais
are
même
more important or
les mettre dans une
should
boîte
be approved quicker. I did not want to put
d'investigation.
them
Les
in
autres
a
savent
box
qu'est-ce
and
qui
say,
intéresse plus. Donc,
deal
je
with
vais
these one
essayer
first.
de
No, they
monter
know
sur
better. I
30,000
try
pieds
to
puis de vous donner des
stick
recommandations
30,000 feet
qui
to give you recommendations that
constituera un cadre
will
stratégique
constitute a
pour
strategic
la deuxième
plan
partie de
for the
l'exercice
second
et
part of the
matcher
exercise
bien
and a
sûr
match plan
les
to
dates. Je
arrive with some
propose. Donc,
dates that I am
c'est à
proposing.
peu près ça.
Well, that's about
Si
it.
vous avez besoin de
I'm
plus
happy to answer your
d'informations.
questions if you have any. Thank you. Questions from the council. Mr.
Merci
Boutier.
infiniment.
Thank you,
Merci pour
Worship.
vos réponses.
Thank you.
Euh, D'après votre expertise, puis
From
ce que
your
vous avez
expertise and what
étudié,
you have seen
c'est
in
quoi
other
un exemple de
municipalities,
retour sur l'investissement?
what is the example of a
Parce que
return on investment?
dans votre
Because in your presentation,
recommandation numéro 5, on dit qu'on veut
recommendation
un
number
retour sur
5, you
l'investissement de
say we
50.
want return on
C'est quoi
investment, but what is
la
it
base pour ça?
according to other municipalities?
Si
Well,
vous appuyez un organisme,
if you support an
vous
organization
pouvez faire un
and
lien direct
you
avec
can have a direct relations or direct link
pour la
with
municipalité, pour les
return
organisations
for
comptables,
in a
ce serait
quantitative way, that would
très
be it.
difficile
It
si
might
un de
not
vos
be
employés qui a réfléchi à toute
full of
cette
things. It's
si
one of your employees that
ces employés-là
suggested, and I said we should
sont
study if it's pertinent
dans le cas de vos politiques.
in the
Donc, ce
case
serait
of your
vraiment
policy. So it would
de pouvoir
be to be
quantifier
able to
les
quantify, is
conséquences
there any
qui
uh,
pourraient arriver
economic
à la
fallout
municipalité
that could
en raison du fait que
derive from the fact
c'est
that
un
you are
organisme
giving a
public
grant
qui a
to
reçu
an
un
association,
investissement
can
privé.
quantify the difference
C'est un peu ça.
there is. That's about it.
Encore une fois, je voulais juste revenir. Est-ce qu'il y a
I
des
want to come back.
municipalités
Is
dans
there
ce
other
critère-là
municipalities that have that criteria at the present time?
J'irai voir.
I would
Est-ce
have
que
to
j'ai
go and look in
spécifié
the
ça?
notes. I did not
Je pourrais vous fournir
specify
l'information.
that. I could give you the information if you wish
Apparemment,
to put in
dépendamment de spécifiquement qui là,
to
c'est ça.
answer
Mais ça, c'est une
who's doing it.
recommandation qui est venue d'un de
That's a
vos employés,
recommendation that came from one of your employees, or
c'est peut-être présent
it
dans
may be
votre
someone
portfolio là,
in
qui
your
a décidé
staff
de
that had
spécifier
the
que vous
idea
étiez
of
protégé par ça.
what he meant by that.
Mais j'irai voir là, si les
But I will go and
municipalités
see if
que je peux identifier
there
puis
is a municipality that I can identify, and I'll talk
OK.
to
Oui,
put in
parfait.
about it. Thank you.
Plutôt pour
I
notre
have a
manager.
question
C'est possible.
for
Est-ce
the
que vous savez
manager
que le plan d'action
with
qu'on
the
vise
action
et
plan that
nous,
we're
notre site Internet,
aiming for
on est déjà.
and
Oui.
the internet
Est-ce
that
qu'on
we
est
are
dans le
developing.
justement, est-ce
Are
qu'on est
we
capable
in
de se
line? Will we be
familiariser
able
avec la
with,
technologie puis faire l'implantation de ça
to have the
ensemble?
technology and the implementation of this? Mrs. Cormier had a conversation with communication department at the immediate need. I see. Okay, the head is nodding yes. Can be done. Thank you. That's all. Ms. Godbout,
Merci pour le rapport.
thank you for the
Pour
report.
la lecture et les
I
recommandations
love
utiles.
the lecture. The
Il y a
recommendations are
une question
useful.
que
There's
j'aimerais
one
avoir vos
question that I don't
commentaires
think
dessus.
that I've
C'est
had comments
vous
on.
avez de
Did
vérifier
you have the
si les
opportunity
décisions qui sont à
to
prendre
see
par
if
les
the decision
autorités
to be
sont
made
bien
because of the
alignés avec
policy
les
are well
responsabilités du
aligned
poste auquel
with
ils
the
sont assignés?
responsibilities for the
C'est-à-dire en
position to which they
contexte
are assigned?
comparatif dans nos
In other
politiques
words, in our
en comparaison avec
policies,
les autres
in
municipalités.
comparison with other
Comment ça se fait
municipalities,
qu'il
with
y a
their
peut-être quand même
places where we
une plus
could
grande délégation
allow a
d'autorité
greater delegation of authority
à nos employés ou à
to
nos
our
superviseurs?
employees or elsewhere? In other words,
Est-ce que le bon niveau de poste est
is a good
aligné
level of
avec
position
les bonnes responsabilités? Est-ce qu'ils s'alignent bien
give the good
avec le
responsibilities. Have you
responsable
seen
de nos
places
politiques où il y a
within our
des
policies where
différences
there are
puis
things that could be
des
different from other
intérêts?
municipalities?
Au début de l'exercice,
At the beginning
c'est
of the
plus souvent
exercise, some
que
employees were talking of the fact
cette
that
équipe-là s'occupe de ces
that
politiques-là,
team takes care
puis
of these
ensuite l'autre
policies and
équipe-là
other
qui
people
s'occupe
take
des
care of other
employés,
policies. And I said,
comme
well,
l'organigramme, puis qui s'occupe de quelle politique, puis
the chart of who is
organiser
responsible for
les
what put in
politiques
is
qui ne
responsible
sont pas toutes
for a lot of
complémentaires,
policies, and other
puis
employees have less.
spécifiser
So I did not
qui fait quoi
spend
pendant
any
quelle
time as to
période.
who does
C'était
what
pas l'objectif
as
de
far as
l'exercice,
policy. That
mais je
was
sais
not the reason for the
en
exercise.
travaillant les
But I know
politiques,
that
là,
by
ça
reworking
peut
the
être approprié
policies, it might be
que ces
appropriate
choses-là soient faites, mais ça ne fait
that
pas partie
these questions
du
be
rôle
asked, but it was not part of
de
the
l'évaluation puis
mandate
de
of the
vérification.
assessment as such. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. Thank you for the presentation. I'm convinced that the staff will work on a recommendation, and I imagine that the process, during the budget process, maybe we'll start seeing some elements. It'll be presented in the months to come. There might be elements that are easier to be discussed than others, but we'll remember the dates that you mentioned.
OK,
Thank you
merci.
once again. Thank you.
Bonne soirée.
Good evening. You too. Number 8. Apparently, at the last meeting, we forgot to mention, is there questions? Well, did we have questions via the internet? Yes. Okay. And then the second question is, do we have question in the room tonight? The internet. Yes, thank you, worship. Mr. David Levesque has a question. He lives on Rue des Élèves. He said, hello, I live on Rue des Élèves for 1 week. I know it's being developed and the houses are being built from 7 a.m. to 10 at night during the week. Could we have a noise bylaw to protect the the noise on the weekend? Construction companies arrive at 7 a.m. on the weekend. weekend. I understand the bylaw does not specify any weekdays, but on weekend it could be pushed at 9 or 10 o'clock. Sincerely, David Levesque. Well, I don't know if there's comments from the management, the administration, or members of council. I think these are suggestions that may be worthwhile when we talk about weekends, but it's not everybody that work days only. And on weekends, normally it's a resting period. Maybe it's something that should be considered. And we could have additional feedback on that. We can certainly look at the principle of the question, but also we have to consider the reality. Sometimes they bring us to have construction later on. If it depends on the weather, we realize in some places there's been project for 2 years. Some subdivision are being developed quickly. There may be principle, but by respecting the context of reality of the weather and the construction market. But we can look at it. The council, we will expect to have an answer in the next few weeks. Thank you. Now, from our dear public, our great public, vast public. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. Good evening, Mr. Béliveau, Paul Béliveau, resident of Dieppe, a member of the administration. Two items. The first one has to do with our trail that we appreciate very much and that we use on a regular basis. Two things. It's the speed of of the bike. It's been mentioned. The recommendation that's been presented, there's supposed to be a limit of 15 kilometers. Maybe they interpret it as 15 miles because some are going very fast. The question of the horn to warn us, they should be able. The first question is the speed on the trail by the people who want to exercise, but they use it as a training trail. That's my first question. Is there something that can be considered or can be applied? Mr. Sima,
Oui, merci, Monsieur Béliveau. Fait
thank
qu'effectivement,
you, Monsieur Béliveau, for your question. We are presently revising. It's the policy dealing with sidewalks, but we'll add the trail that you'll find on our bylaw. And could we see it eventually that the bicycles will
oui,
be
on
less in
essaie
December? We're going to see
d'éventuellement.
them shortly. Well, but by December, they should appear. Yes,
Le
but
défi par rapport au
it's
contrôle, là,
the challenge
de
is
contrôler les
to
vélos,
control
que les vélos, on ne
develop
va
to
pas être
run
nécessairement
after. We're not necessarily
surveiller
equipped
les
for
gens qui
that.
vont encore arriver.
There are certain elements that have to. I can't run as fast as a bicycle either. Second question, Your Worship, has to do what I understood. There was a question that the province had adopted a law that approved the usage of camera at the intersection is to watch the famous those who go through a red light. I'm not the only one in municipality that see them every day. Is the municipality considering something? Are you coming to a conclusion? Yes, something will be done, and could it be seen shortly? I'm happy to hear that question. It's a file that is supported by the Association of Cities of New Brunswick. Recently, we brought the issue to the province, and the province have indicated that they have an interest in it. However, that's as far as they went so far. So during our annual meeting, the association decided that in 2 weeks, maybe in Fredericton, and it seems like it will be
Et
a
c'est un des sujets qui est important
virtual
pour
meeting,
nous
but it's one
sous-ministres
item on the agenda. So the deputy
responsabilités
minister responsible for
de
that file
l'éducation à l'association
will
ici.
make a
Évidemment,
presentation to the city's
question
association.
évidente
An
qui se
obvious
pose,
question
c'est
that is being
qui paye
asked
pourquoi.
is a question of who's paying for what and who will
Si
benefit from
le
it.
fardeau
So
va aux
if
municipalités,
the burden
euh,
goes to the municipality, well,
ça,
excuse me,
ça va prendre un peu
it
plus de planification,
will
un
take
peu, un
more
peu plus de temps
planning
aussi.
without any doubt. And
On ne veut
also,
pas que ça devienne un
we
peu la
wouldn't
même chose
want
qui se
it
passe
to
présentement, les
become the same
amendes
thing as what is
pour
happening
excès de
today.
vitesse,
The fine for speeding
de ce genre au niveau provincial, au niveau
and
pardon,
similar
de la GRC. Les
locally,
amendes vont
the
directement à la
RCMP,
province du
they go
Nouveau-Brunswick
directly to the province
et
of
aux
New
services
Brunswick. We don't collect
des
1 cent from
municipalités.
that, the municipalities that
Alors,
is. So,
comme principe, si c'est nous qui payons
so as a principle, if we pay
l'installation de ces
for
systèmes-là,
the installation of that
c'est certain qu'on
system,
va vouloir
of course,
accélérer
we'll
le
want to
bénéfice
uh,
pour
get back the
une longue
benefit
période de temps
for
après.
a long period
Alors,
of
ça reste
time,
à
as far
voir.
as I'm
C'est pas encore
concerned. But
défini.
it's yet to be seen. It's
C'est vrai
not
qu'on a commencé à écrire.
uh,
Ils ont juste à regarder
determined. All they have to
l'Ontario,
do is look at Ontario,
le Manitoba.
Manitoba.
Plusieurs provinces déjà qui ont
There are
installé.
several provinces who
Et
have
au Québec,
installed it.
la même
In
chose.
Quebec, the same thing.
Ils ont le choix
They have a
de
choice
s'informer. Puis on a bien hâte de travailler avec eux. C'est un
to
projet
travel, and we're willing to
que nous
work with
avons
them. It's a
débuté
project that we've
lors du
started
gouvernement Galant.
during the
On a
Gallant
commencé à en
government
parler.
when we started talking about it. So
Au moins, à date, la
at
province a
least
démontré un intérêt. On a bien hâte de voir la suite.
until now, the province
Est-ce que
have
vous avez
shown an interest.
spécifiquement
So it
des
depends who's paying,
situations
of
dans
course,
lesquelles
and who will
on va
receive the benefit.
continuer?
So
Je vais continuer à écouter
I'll
tout ça
follow up and I'll
d'ici
keep listening to
prochaine,
see if it's being
prochaine
developed.
conversation.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Bidivo.
Alors, si
So if
s'il n'y a
there
rien d'autre,
nothing else,
on va continuer
we will continue
avec l'item
with
item
item
adoption du procès verbal de la
adoption of
dernière
minutes of
réunion
the last regular council meeting,
proposée par
moved by
la conseillère
Councillor
Turgeon-Roy et
Turgeon-Roy and
par le député
seconded by Councillor
Thibodeau sur la
Thibodeau.
question.
On the question,
Après, tout le monde a lu ça activement
I'm sure you've
en
all read it
détail. Pas de
very
questions.
delicately.
Donc, s'il n'y a pas de questions sur
No
le procès
question. All
verbal,
those in
avis
favor,
favorable, un oui.
say aye.
L'avis contraire, un non.
Contrary-minded, nay.
Le procès verbal de la dernière réunion
The minutes of
du
last
13
meeting,
septembre est accepté.
September 13, is adopted.
Maintenant, du côté de
Now,
l'administration, M. Melanson.
administration, Mr. Melanson. Thank you,
Bonjour,
Worship. Good
c'est
evening,
l'officiel
everyone.
comité
First
d'expansion.
file, the
Juste
expansion,
d'abord, pour vous faire la mise en
a
contexte,
bit of
c'est une
history.
application des directives
This
reçues
is
par le
the
Conseil
application of a
municipal en
guideline
2018
adopted by the Municipal Council in
Les trois municipalités
2018.
de
The three
New-Brunswick et
cities,
New-Brunswick
Moncton,
ont
Riverview,
signé
and
un
Dieppe,
protocole d'entente
have
sur les
agreed on a
interventions
protocol
économiques
on the economic development of the region.
assurer la mise en œuvre
This is to ensure the implementation of the
de
strategy
la région des
of the
Dieppe-Montréal
economic development of the greater Dieppe Mountain
Ça, c'était
Review.
première
This was the
étape.
first important step.
Ensuite, ça cheminait vers
Afterwards, it
une
went
rencontre entre les
toward
trois
an
villes
agreement between the three
ensemble
cities
sur
and the
l'accélération de
three
la
plus
relance économique de la région.
commission.
Une première entente a été
So a first
mise en
agreement
place en
was
2018
implemented in
pour 3 ans.
2018 for a 3 years
Cela
period,
pour une quatrième année en raison
expanded for a fourth year
de la COVID-19, de la pandémie.
because of COVID
La réunion
19 and
aujourd'hui
the
devant vous
pandemic.
propose un
You have in
nouveau
front of you
montant
the
de
renewal of a new agreement,
étendu à 2024
2022 to
pour la section 12
2024, with
qui est
the
également
Tree
adopté
Plus
par le
corporation that was adopted by the other two cities in town
les trois communautés
that are part of the three
membres.
communities for this
L'entente
agreement.
stipule
And the agreement
les trois éléments
stipulate
suivants pour
three following
développer le
elements
3+.
for the three plus
Le
to
développement de la
develop
main-d'œuvre,
development of
deuxièmement
manpower,
l'entrepreneuriat et
secondly the
l'entrepreneuriat
entrepreneurship
et la communication et marketing
and the
associée aux
communication
deux
and
mandations mentionnées.
associated
Ainsi
with the
que
two previous
c'est ces
mandates. So
éléments-là qu'on
it
a la
mentioned these
responsabilité de faire
is
mise
what
en œuvre
Tree Plus is
et
responsible to
d'utiliser
implement,
pour
develop
mesurer
initiatives
voir
and measures
la
to
progression
be
d'ici
able
à
to
la
show
fin du
the
mois d'août.
progression.
Nous pensons que ce soir,
So we will
le
approve this
discours
agreement
va
tonight for the
diffuser
reading of the resolution. Ms. Thibault. that council
avoir de nouveaux
adopt
services
the 2020
de
to
livraison
2024
entre le
service level agreement
municipal
between
de
Dieppe, Moncton, and
Dieppe
Review
selon
municipalities
les
and Three Plus Corporation in order to offer the regional services
secteurs
in the
suivants:
following
mise en
sectors:
œuvre de l'action
implementation of the
entrepreneuriale avec
Southeast
succès,
Workforce Strategy,
entrepreneuriat et
entrepreneurship
démarrage
and business
avec
startup,
succès, activités de
communication and
communication
marketing
ou
activities starting
marketing
to both
associé à des
mandates
mandats
mentioned
sous-mentionnés.
above.
Je propose.
I so move.
Proposé par conseillère
Moved by Councillor Boudreau, seconded by Councillor
Godette. Sur la question,
Godet. Other question?
aucune question. Alors, sur
No
le vote,
question. All those in favor
vote par
say
acclamation.
aye.
De l'avis contraire par un non.
Contrary minded
La
nay.
question est adoptée telle que présentée.
Carried as presented.
10.2, finance.
10.2 Finance.
Alors, annuellement, on se dit on
So
prépare le tableau bilan,
yearly
rapport financier
we
d'exploitation
have
de la
to
municipalité de
audit
Dieppe.
the municipal
On a eu
statement.
un exercice
So we
d'intérêt
undertook the
d'intérêt de
exercise
recevoir des
of
propositions
interest to receive
potentielles.
proposal for a
Suite à
firm.
l'exercice,
Following this
Ernst
exercise,
Young fut
Ernest and
retenu
Young was the
et
one
recommandé.
that was
On
recommended
a une
and
entente de
retained.
gestion.
It's a 5 year agreement.
On parle aussi de
5 years,
l'augmentation
we
de
talk about
5%.
increase of
À Dieppe,
5%.
dont cet exercice
In
ici
fact,
porte
in
sur
this
les états financiers de la
exercise,
ville,
the
de
financial
municipal d'expansion de
statement
Dieppe
of the
et de
city
de l'entité de
of
gestion
Expansion Dieppe
1604
and
Municipal
Management
d'expansion de Dieppe.
1604 and the
Les recommandations
municipal
ici
building of Dieppe.
soumises à
We have the
l'approbation
recommendations for
du
approval
Conseil.
for tonight.
Pour la lecture de la
For the
résolution,
reading of the
la parole est
resolution,
à Monsieur Dantaigne.
Mr. Dante,
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
thank you, Worship.
Que le conseil
That
nomme M.
council
Ernst Young, auditeur
appoint
de la
Ernst
ville de
and
Dieppe,
Young as
pour
auditors of the city
l'exercice
of Dieppe
financier
for the
s'étendant du
fiscal
31
year
décembre 2021
ending
au 31 décembre 2025
December
et
31st,
d'autoriser les
2021,
dépenses
December
estimées entre
31st,
50
2025,
et
and
56
authorize
000
expenditures
plus
estimated between
HST
50,000
pour
and
compléter le
56,000 plus
numéro
HST per year be defrayed from account number 1-2-20-26-2255,
budget de fonctionnement
general
général et
operating
organisation
budget,
extérieure.
external
Proposition.
audits. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Latang, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. On the question.
Aucune question. Alors, sur le
No
vote,
question. All those in favor
vote par
say
acclamation.
aye.
De l'avis contraire par un non.
Contrary-minded nay.
La résolution est adoptée telle que
Carried
présentée.
as presented.
10.2.2.
10.2.2.
Alors, ici,
So
lors
here,
de la dernière session du comité
during
politique
the
et
last
stratégie,
session of the policy and
les finances
strategy
responsables
session,
et aussi le gestionnaire
person
des finances
responsible for
ont fait
finance
des
and
orientations
assets
assez
made
clarifiées
quite
de
an,
problématiques de gestion
a good
administrative pour la
and
municipalité.
philosophy of
Alors, suite à cette présentation,
the
la
policy of
question
the
est
city.
adoptée.
Following that presentation,
Savoir
questions
si
were
l'adoption
asked.
effective
Tonight
de
is
cette
for the
politique,
adoption,
soit respectée par
that this
les
policy be respected
les
by the staff
planifications à
and
court et à long terme de la
the short
municipalité.
and long-term
Un point
policy of the
spécifique a été
municipality. One
soulevé
thing that was
par la
raised by the
commission
council during the
la
session
gestion d'actifs
was a
et
question of
la
asset
nature
management and the nature of
des
it.
éléments de la politique
There is an element
associés
of
en
the
considération
policy that
permettant de
take
développer
into
un plan d'action
consideration would be to
et de voir sa
develop
mise en
plan of
œuvre.
action to see its
Ce qui
implementation.
avait ressorti lors de la
That's the only thing
présentation
that
des
came out
différents fonds.
during the
Si
presentation.
vous voulez en avoir plus
And
en
if
détail,
you
je
wish
suis
to have more
ici
detail,
pour
we are here
poursuivre.
to explain it
Alors, c'est notre
if need
recommandation
be.
pour que le
That's
conseil
our
puisse
recommendation.
procéder premièrement
We'll
à la
proceed
lecture de la
for the reading
proposition.
of the proposal recommendation.
Vous voulez que je choisisse quelqu'un ou bien quoi?
Should I choose someone? Monsieur Thibodeau,
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
your worship,
Que le conseil
that
adopte le projet
council repeal
budget
policy
014
FIN-01
régulier
entitled Asset Management Policy and adopt the new
FIN
policy
001 2021
FIN-01
qualité d'exécution.
2021
Je propose que
asset
ceux qui sont pour
management
l'avis
policy, moved by
soient
Councilor Thibodeau, seconded by
sur
Councilor Thibodeau on the question.
sur la question, Madame Godbout.
Ms. Godbout,
Merci
thank you.
et merci aux employés pour
Thank you
prendre
to the
en
employees
considération
for
nos commentaires à la
considering
à
our
la dernière
comments from
session.
the last meeting,
Étant donné
considering
les modifications qui
the
pourraient
amendment that
avoir dans la politique,
could
j'aimerais
could have to be made
plutôt
in the
plutôt
policy. I wonder if
qu'on
it would
donnerait la
be
politique
appropriate
un
to
tout autre
consider that
qui
we would
correspond
review the policy in one year instead of 4 years. I don't want to lose that thought. We'll have to look at it again. I think that the council has indicated they would like to have addition to be made. We want to give time to the staff to look at it, and we really appreciate the expertise that they'll bring. But we talk about changes that will have to be reviewed every 4 years. I would like to propose, Your Worship, an amendment to the resolution that we approve as amended so that it be reviewed in 1 year and that it comes back to the council in 1 year to be able to look at it and give a recommendation. That would be my proposal. So an amendment has been moved by Councillor Godbout.
Est-ce que quelqu'un pour appuyer?
Is there a seconder?
Appuyé par la conseillère
Seconded by Councillor
Turgeon-Roy.
Turgeon.
Alors, je peux
So
poser
ready
la
for the question?
ou est-ce qu'il y a
Or is there a question on
d'autres sur la question, Madame Lebouty?
Mr. Boutier?
C'était plus une question d'information parce
It's a
que
question of
dans le
information.
prototype comme tel, il y a beaucoup de... C'est très qualitatif.
It's very
Donc, est-ce qu'à un
qualitative.
moment, on va venir
Is
où
there
un système de contrôle va
a
être en
time
place pour,
when a control system
excusez-moi
will
l'anglicisme,
exist
trigger, comme
to trigger
un genre de terme de ratio qu'on va
a
avoir
kind of a
pour
ratio
les
that we
employés,
will have for the
que ce soit
management of
basé
assets so
comme
that
le système comptable va se
it be the counting system
il y
where
aura
we
qu'on
find
va
a
avoir
certain
un système.
percentage that will
Est-ce que si
have.
on vise à long
Is
terme
that what we're
de
aiming
changer
at on long term basis?
Ok, merci pour la question.
Thank you for the question.
La question de Madame Godbout, on peut
Come
dire
back to
que
Ms.
la
Kudbu
politique, c'est plus
question.
un
The
document à
policy is more
3000 pieds, un peu comme
a
une
30,000 feet
version
document.
Toronto. C'est
As
plus
it
que le
was said,
conseil
it's
adhère
more for the council to
au principe de gestion des
follow
actifs.
the principle of asset management.
Que le conseil prend en considération la gestion des actifs
The
et aussi
council is considering the asset management. We have another document that is called Strategy of the Asset Management that is not approved by a policy for council, but it's more directive what we'll do for the next year, next 3 years, next 20 years, maybe. That's where we should indicate what we'll do with the assets and the other categories of assets also.
Faisons suite à la question de Mme Leboutier.
Following Mr. Boutier's question,
Les pourcentages, oui, pourraient faire
the
partie d'un
percentage, yes, could also be part of strategy, but also in a long-term financial plan that is already created, but could be amended also. So maybe we could have the example of other municipalities because you asked a question in the last meeting as to what percentage. I forget exactly what it was, but in my opinion, the policy as is that the council should follow the asset management. It's available, but it can be amended, it can be changed. We have a committee. We have to meet a few times every year, and we're working on the strategy.
Bien, je trouve que c'est très bien exactement. Je pense qu'en travaillant
It's
sur ça,
very well by
il y a
working on
aussi
the
une
strategy.
direction différente en
We've
en regardant
given
sur
some
l'ensemble.
directive
On a l'occasion de
by
voir
looking
si
at the
on a
strategy. It will
des
give you an
priorités
idea if you have everything that you
et
need.
déterminer
In
est-ce
that
qu'il y a
policy, you
des
can come back to
modifications de
us
priorité
if some
avec
changes are
des
required in the
objectifs
following
déterminés.
year. We
Est-ce
can
qu'il
give you
y a des stratégies
direction
aussi? Puis,
that
ça serait de
so
valeur
that the
si on serait
strategy
bien
would be
de aussi voir
unfortunate
pour
to
comparer
have a
aussi
strategy
les
come back
parce
that
qu'on
it's
pourrait,
not
dans un an,
uh,
avoir un peu d'évolution sur
good,
ces
and then after a
stratégies
year
à long
we
terme.
could give you more directive, more guidelines.
Alors,
Of course.
pour la
So
proposition d'amendement,
for the amendment
ceux qui sont en faveur, c'est oui.
motion, all those in favor say aye.
Les contraires, non.
Contrary minded
Alors,
nay.
l'amendement
The amendment is
est
carried.
accepté. Et nous allons procéder maintenant
We'll
avec
proceed now with
la résolution telle qu'elle a
the
été
resolution as
amendée.
amended
Alors, pour cette proposition,
for this motion.
qui va faire cette proposition, ça avait déjà été fait
It's
par
been done
M. Thibodeau
by Mr.
c'est
Thibodeau.
vrai, excusez-moi.
Yes, that's true.
Alors,
Sorry.
telle que la proposition a été
As the
amendée,
motion
ceux qui sont en
was
faveur,
amended, all those in favor
oui.
say aye.
Les contraires par un non.
Contrary minded
Alors, la
nay.
résolution est acceptée telle que présentée.
Carried as amended.
Ceci étant dit, je vais
This
vous
being
demander,
said,
Madame
I
Boutier,
forgot.
est-ce que vous avez quelque chose?
Miss
Ça a été
Boudreau,
couvert.
you have
Ça a été
something?
couvert maintenant. OK.
or has it been covered? Okay, sorry.
J'essaierai de mieux faire ma job.
I'll try to do my job better.
Merci.
Thank you.
Du côté des opérations 10.3,
Operation 10.3.1 Engineering Services, Artificial Turf Field, a file we've been working on for a long time. We had an announcement in July. Synthetic surface, multi-sport, you have a recommendation to retain CBCL. That is an engineering firm to look at all the plans, the quote for the management of the project and the process under 85,400 plus HST. We recommend that this firm be retained for expertise service for the turf surface for the reading. Mr. Boudier,
Que le conseil a
your
tenu
worship, that council
dans
authorized
le projet
engineering fees for the
qu'ils veulent mettre le
artificial turf field project at the Mathieu Martin
aussi
School
5400
at CBC Limited at the
pas prélevé
$64 $5,400 $85,000, and that authorized expenditure be retained from account 3-3-10-12-76-14 general capital move and seconded
sur la question.
on the question.
Sur la question, Madame Turgeon-Roy.
Mr. Jean-Roy on the question.
J'ai une question, puis
I have a
je pense que je
question,
connais
and
la réponse,
I
mais
think I know
c'est
the
plus au
answer,
niveau
but
public.
it's more for the
La
public.
question qui était dit, est-ce qu'il va y avoir un toit?
Artificial surf, will there
Non,
be
c'est prévu.
a dome?
OK.
No.
C'est ça que je réponds aux gens.
That's what I
Les
tell people.
rumeurs qui circulent tout de suite dans la ville que c'est pas clair que ça se fait
The
qu'il y ait
rumor
un
is
don.
that it's not clear. The project that we're working on does not have any dome
Non, merci.
proposal.
Mais il y a
Thank you.
toujours la discussion dans la
But
communauté.
there's always
Alors,
discussion in the
c'est pas.
community, so we never know.
Puis je veux pas lancer un rêve,
I don't want to
mais
put a
on
dream
sait jamais.
out, but we never know.
On est prêt à écouter toutes
We're
les
ready to
propositions.
listen to all proposals.
Alors, ceci étant dit,
That being
s'il n'y a pas
said,
d'autres questions sur
if
la
there's no other
proposition, la
questions,
parole est à vous,
all
Monsieur
those
le
in
Président.
favor say aye.
Quel avis contraire?
Contrary
La
minded nay.
proposition est adoptée telle que présentée.
Carried as presented.
J'ai éteint un micro de trop, excusez-moi.
I turn off
Peut-être celui-là que les gens voudraient qu'il soit
one
éteint.
mic too
Effectivement.
many.
D'ailleurs, ceci étant dit,
This being said,
ça nous amène
it brings us to
aux recommandations du CCU. 10.4, planification
Planning and Development Pack Recommendation
Melançon, peut aussi
10.4. Mr. Lawson. Well, here, this is a file that came up to council a few times. So you have in front of you a recommendation of the pack for the amendment of the condition zoning bylaw 68-41. In principle, it seems very simple. We withdraw the date that was required in the term and condition on the execution to proceed with the project that was presented to council. The term and condition remained exactly the way they were developed. The residents, the citizens were consulted. How at least we are the only element that is changed. I know there are three elements that I mentioned, but the most important one is the date that the date was withdrawn. The term and recommendation remain forever. The project, or if somebody comes back with a rezoning application, Monsieur Frenet is here to better explain what I just said. But in simple words, that's what it is. We'll proceed to the reading of the resolution. Monsieur Thibodeau, since it's in your area, in your ward, your worship, that council repeal the following resolution adopted February 2015, entitled rezoning project, Dieppe Boulevard, PID 70502786, portion 704982417049825870502216, term and condition. resolution adopted on March 23rd, 2015, entitled Rezoning Project Dieppe, Evans Street. A resolution adopted on September 10th, 2018, entitled Acceptance Pack Recommendation 6670611118, even Dieppe Boulevard, and adopt as follows: that council accept the recommendation made on September 15, 2021 by the Planning Advisory Commission, planning to a request conditions number 4 and 5 relating to bylaws Z-8-441 under number 4570555 on this on March 26, 2015, relating to the agreement of PID 7061108, and that the council agreed that this be subjected to Section 59 of the Community Planning Act, pursuant to recommendation entitled document titled Condition Bylaw Z-8-41 and dated September 27, 2021, and that condition number 4 and 5 related to said bylaw be adopted as follow: that building A shown on the site plan entitled Commercial Retail Development, Dieppe, New Brunswick, that dated March 23rd, 2016, must have a minimum of 4,180 square meters, 45,000 square feet, and across floor, and must be developed and such on the said plan. Number 5, that building E shown on a site plan entitled Commercial Retail Development, Dieppe, New Brunswick, dated March 23, 2016, must have a minimum of 929 square feet, 10,000 square feet of the floor must be developed as shown on the site. I so move, your worship. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor
Dantaigne,
Nantin.
Monsieur Dantaigne.
Sorry, Monsieur Nantin, forget your name. On the question,
Question, Madame Godbout.
Mr. Gadbu.
Merci. C'est une question pour Monsieur Frenette.
It's a
C'est
question for Mr. Fernet. Thank you.
un mandat qui,
It's a file that
les années,
has been going on for a long time, and it
on a aussi donc le dossier
might
méthodier.
the file is I know well at the last
Pas
meeting
tout quand
of
même.
the PAC
Pouvez-vous nous parler un peu
on the CCU.
la discussion
Can you
et
tell me what
qu'est-ce
was
qui
the
s'est passé
discussion or the concern that were
en faveur de la
expressed
résolution, mais aussi
in
si vous pouvez
favor,
peut-être nous
but
donner
also to clarify to the others, those who have
Oui, merci pour la
concern?
question,
Thank you for the question,
Lady.
Ms.
C'est vraiment une
Gadbu.
question
This is really
procédurale.
a question of procedure. It's a
On a eu un
mistake that
mauvais
we made.
paquet
We send the wrong package to the members.
lors d'une
Members are
soirée en
packed,
réduction
and during the meeting,
d'information.
the fact we
Il y avait une
changed,
personne
we presented the right version. One member didn't feel at ease to vote
qui avait été
on the
modifié,
package that had
qui a
been
quand même été modifié par
amended.
réunion
It
d'information.
was changed at the meeting, but we noticed that it was not the
J'ai
proper
envoyé
package
au membre.
that was sent to the
des
members.
erreurs
Did
procédurales
confirm
au sein
that
dans les membres du
procedure
CCU et non pas dans les
mistake,
membres du bureau,
members of the PAC
dans le sens
and not
Oui, parce
the
qu'on a
members?
envoyé des lettres.
Yes,
On
it
leur
was
informe seulement qu'il y a un
sent to
meeting. On
neighbors.
informe seulement qu'il y a une réunion.
We only tell them
On
there's a
demande
meeting
jamais si
on
les
the
membres
night in question if they have a question or comments.
et ça
But the
arrive
case per se is only
souvent.
presented to the members of the PAC. Thank you.
Merci. Une autre
Thank
question,
you.
Madame
Any other question, Mr. Boutier?
Pour ce qu'on dit, je veux bien comprendre, on fait qu'on
I
enlève
want
la
to
date.
understand. We're removing the
Ça veut
date.
dire que ce
That
propriétaire-là,
means that
si
that
dans
owner,
15 ans,
if in 15 years he
il
has
n'aura pas
not
accès à ce
yet
terrain-là.
built, he still have access to that building.
Fait que ma question qui relève,
So
ma
my
question c'est,
question
est-ce
is,
qu'on a beaucoup d'autres terrains
do we have a lot of
sur Dieppe
other property on
où
the Boulevard on which we are
est-ce
uh,
qu'il reste beaucoup d'autres
putting
terrains vacants
dates? Is
sur
there a
Dieppe
lot more property,
directement sur le
piece
site?
of land
C'est ça ma question.
other than this one on the Boulevard? I can answer your question, Mr. Boutier.
C'est le seul cas,
It's the only case.
le seul projet d'arrêté où ce qu'on
It's
avait
the only bylaw project where we had mentioned this. There was a lot of opposition. We wanted to make sure we were within the standard and we imposed a date, but we see since 2015 that the project never went ahead. That's the only project of bylaw where we really set a date.
OK, merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you.
S'il n'y a pas d'autres questions,
There's no other question. All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
si que l'avis est favorable,
Contrary minded
la
nay.
résolution est adoptée telle que
Carried as presented.
11.2,
11.2
arrêté C32.
bylaw C32 you have in front of you. Uh, Public property. There is interest that is shown towards that property. So to make it available for the market, we have to do this to make it available. So it's not a piece of the street. This is what we have to do for the to tell the public it's available.
Merci. Et
Thank you.
pour ce faire, on va
And to do
procéder
so,
à la lecture
we will read
première et deuxième
first and
lecture
second reading
par titre
by
seulement.
title only.
Je pense que c'est la catégorie favorite de Monsieur Brideau.
Monsieur Brito, that's your favorite. Uh,
Monsieur Brideau.
Mr. Brito, please. Bylaw C-32 authorizing the city of Dieppe to permanently close a portion of College Street. I so move first reading.
Proposé en première
Moved by
lecture
first
par
reading by title
Conseiller Brideau.
only by Councillor Brito, seconded by Councillor Turgeon Roy.
Sur la question.
On the question,
Oui.
Your Worship, explanation, parts at the end of Champlain and Saint-Relève. College can be long, so I should have explained it when I spoke. Those who read the file understood it for the public. Okay, thank you.
Ceux qui sont en faveur de la
Those in
résolution,
favor,
oui.
say aye.
Those contraires,
And reminded, say
la
nay.
résolution est adoptée,
Carried
présentée en
as
première
presented,
lecture
first reading,
par titre seulement
and by title only.
deuxième
Monsieur Brideau, second reading.
Monsieur le maire,
Your Worship, Bylaw C-32 authorizing the city of Dieppe to permanently close a portion of College Street. I move it, second reading by title only.
Merci.
Thank
Proposé
you.
en deuxième lecture
Move and second reading by
par
Councillor
Monsieur
Brideau,
Brideau,
seconded
aussi par la conseillère
by
Brideau. Sur la
Councillor
question,
Boudreau on the question.
aucune question. Ceux qui
No
sont en
question. All
faveur
those in
de
favor
cette résolution,
say aye.
l'avis contraire,
Contrary minded,
la
nay.
résolution est adoptée telle que
Carried as presented.
avis de motion, ça nous amène au
Notice of
projet de
motion. That
décision.
brings us to notice of motion.
Aucun avis de motion.
No notice of motion.
Avoir
So
des renseignements de la part des membres
inquiries
du
by
conseil.
the members of council. If I'm not mistaken,
Je dois commencer de l'autre
I
côté
think I have to start
avec
on the other side.
Monsieur le conseiller Godet.
Councillor Godet,
Oui, merci, Monsieur le maire.
thank you, Your Worship.
Ajouter
I have nothing to add at this time.
Merci.
Thank you.
Madame la conseillère Lebouty.
Councillor
Oui,
Boutier,
Monsieur le maire.
Your Worship,
J'aimerais, si possible,
if possible,
la prochaine réunion,
at the next
avoir un
meeting,
compte rendu sur la maison de Loire.
if we could have
Serait bien
a report on the Dwaron House,
renseignements sur
we could have a
le
follow-up
nouvel édifice historique.
on our new historical building.
Peut-être ça cadrerait bien aussi avec dans le
Would go well.
troisième, réunion du troisième lundi du mois. Là.
A meeting of the third Monday of the month.
Merci beaucoup. L'autre chose, c'est je me demandais,
The other thing is,
maintenant qu'on vient d'annoncer depuis vendredi,
we
si
just
c'était
announced
confiant
Friday.
qu'on avait
Are
reçu
we
cette
confident we have the necessary
notre quatrième vague
resource to
COVID-là et
undertake the fourth wave of the pandemic and
etc.
how things are working out, the infrastructure? Yes, like every organization, every municipality, we have to adapt with this fourth wave that is striking quite hard in New Brunswick since Wednesday. Wearing of the mask within our recreation buildings, we have taken care of having resources to help us out. We have casual workers, and we retain the service of a safety firm help us with all the access
Alors, je pense qu'on est bien outillé, le
building.
personnel
I think we're well tooled. The staff,
tout ça, le secteur,
Monsieur Raymond Burke
mis en
from
place
the
un plan de
operational
sécurité
sector made sure of the safety of the people and the respect
de la province.
of this guideline from the province.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you
J'ai
very
déjà dit
much.
beaucoup de points, mais j'aimerais prendre l'occasion de
I'd like to
souhaiter
take the
une très
opportunity
heureuse journée à notre
to
nouvelle
say
journée
a good
provinciale,
day,
nationale de
National
l'égalité et de la
Day
réconciliation qui aura lieu ce jeudi.
of the association that will be held Thursday.
Merci.
That's all for me. Reconciliation Day.
Information
Maybe
concernant
Mr. Burke has more information.
simplement
I
ajouter
was
qu'il y a une
simply
bonne collaboration
going to
aussi
add, we have a good
envers
cooperation from the
les arénas
community organization
pour faire justement
from for the arena
vérification, ainsi de suite. C'est
to
important de le
check,
mentionner.
and it's important to mention it.
Merci bien,
Thank you,
Madame Boudreau.
Ms.
Merci,
Boudreau.
Monsieur le maire.
Thank you, Worship.
J'aimerais commencer par
I would like to
féliciter
start by
pour
congratulating
l'information, les essentiels en affaires pour les
the
immigrants
essential
qui ont
in
reçu
building
leur
for the
diplôme.
immigrants that
Lors d'un
received their
cérémonie
diploma during
que je vais
this
faire
sort of
avec la
entitled
corporation 3
networking with the
le 13
Corporation 3
avril
Plus
qui a eu lieu le
that was
vendredi 17
held
septembre.
Friday,
Ces nouveaux
September
diplômés
17.
ont
These new
reçu
graduates
l'essentiel pour
received
débuter
the
leur
essential
propre
to start
territoire
their
et
business and
développement
contribute to
économique.
the
L'événement
economic development of our
l'événement
region.
fut fort
And
agréable
the
pour
event
leurs
was very nice, and
récipiendaires.
congratulations to the
J'aimerais
organizers. I
rappeler
would like to
l'action
remind the
Pilot
population
Project de
that the
transport à
pilot
la demande
project of
le
transportation on
samedi
request
vendredi.
Saturday and Sunday
C'est un transport
is being
gratuit,
held. It's a
personnalisé
free,
qui
personalized
s'améliore
service
avec
and
l'expertise
is
des
only
gestionnaires.
improving with
J'ai eu
the
l'occasion
people
de
that are
visiter le
servicing it. I
site
had an
et
opportunity to
c'est un excellent
text it
service.
to
Lorsque
try
nous
it
avons
this
été au
weekend,
chauffeur
and I had a good
qui
service. I'd like
connaît la
to say a good
circulation des
hello
systèmes
to the driver who knows
d'achalandage,
the
Monsieur Luc
transportation very
Richard,
well. Thank you,
travaillait
Luc
très bien le
Richard,
week-end
who
pour
works
s'assurer
very
que
well
tout
on
se passe
weekend to
bien
make
dans
sure
les
that everything
conditions.
is going well.
Et je vous encourage à
And I encourage you
utiliser
to
pour
use it
réduire nos
to
émissions de
reduce
carbone et
the
augmenter
carbon
l'éventuellement le
emission
service.
and increase
Le plus de gens
eventually the service with
d'utilisation,
more people that will
c'est
use
très
it.
facile. Il
It's
suffit de
very easy.
télécharger
It's a
l'application
matter of
mobile sur
downloading
page web
the
et de
application, visit
réserver par
the
téléphone. Et je vous
web page.
encourage
I
aussi
encourage you
à utiliser
also
le transport
to
en commun en
use
semaine
the
la
public transit
collectivité
on
a
the
été
weekend. Why not use it
extrêmement
once a
utile
week
pour
to start with,
prendre l'habitude.
to take the habit of it?
Puis,
And
je vous invite ce jeudi
I
à
invite you
venir
this
national
Thursday for the
Day de
National
la
Day of
réconciliation,
Truth
prendre
and
le temps de
Reconciliation to
réfléchir
take
à
time
toutes
to
les idées
think,
autochtones
listen to
qui
the
nous ont
native
été
leaders, what they have
présentées,
to
qui
tell us,
sur des
and
sujets
read
comme les
on
documents
the
de
subjects
réconciliation
such
du
as
Canada
documents of the
et de
Commission of
réconciliation
Truth
du
and
Québec.
Reconciliation of Canada.
Également,
You
suivre
can
Dialogue
also
New-Brunswick
follow a
qui
dialogue New
prépare
Brunswick
diverses
that
ressources
is
pour
preparing different
résolution
resources
des
and
sociaux
will share on the
parmi nos récits.
social
Thank you pour
media. Thank you.
Merci bien,
Thank you very much.
conseiller Brudeau.
Councillor Brideau,
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
your worship.
Juste un point que j'aimerais
Just one thing that I would like
des
to
témoignages
raise
que j'ai
tonight.
reçus récemment, dont je
Their
n'ai pas
complaints that I received recently.
encore
I did
parlé
not.
avec notre directeur général.
I talked with our
C'est concernant
manager.
les terrains vacants
Has to do with
en ville.
vacant
Je sais qu'on en a
property.
beaucoup en
I
ville,
know
mais
we have a
le
lot in the
problème, c'est que les
city,
gens, les voisins
but
de ces terrains-là se plaignent parce
which
que
the neighbors are
il n'y a pas
complaining,
assez de
neighbors of these
maintenance,
property, because there's no maintenance by the city.
pour guide, si vous voulez. On ne fait pas de, on fait pas des gazons des
We
terrains
don't mow
vacants.
the lawn of
Est-ce qu'il y aurait
vacant
moyen
property.
dans le
Isn't
futur
there
que dans
a
le
way or possibility that
on
in the
avait une
future
politique là-dessus,
we could come with a policy
les
on that?
terrains vacants,
People who have
il y a peu de
vacant property,
propriétaires.
there's
C'est
no
qu'il
nothing
faudrait
on
que
it,
des
but
gazons soient maintenus au même titre comme qu'on demande
the
aux
lawn
résidents
be
de ville
maintained, similar to we ask
de
our
pouvoir mettre des
citizens to
gazons.
keep their property clean and up to
Vous voyez
par.
ce que je veux dire là?
Do you know what I'm saying?
Y a-t-il quelque chose qu'on
Is
peut
there something
faire
that
dans ce
we
sens-ci
could
là?
do at this time
On peut mettre un genre de plan
in the
d'action
future to have a
pour
plan of
que les
action?
terrains soient bien
People who
maintenus.
have
Il n'y a pas
land,
quelque chose à
have
faire
property, be told that
pour les
they have
propriétaires.
responsibilities for them, but also for the neighbors. Mr. Minoso,
Actuellement, les terrains non
presently,
habités
the
sont
properties
sans entretien.
that
C'est
are
des
not
petits terrains
inhabited
privés
don't have to be maintained. It's the properties that are being inhabited where the owners are responsible to mow the lawn. To legislate such an action could be very heavy. We talk about all the vacant property in the municipality, whether it be more urban, more rural, frontage with a vacant property. What you're suggesting could have a heavy management, heavy implication to make sure that the lawn are mowed. And what is it's a big question, and there are areas in downtown the lawn.
Ben,
It's a big question.
une petite
Well,
suggestion, peut-être.
I have a suggestion. Maybe
Mais
it
tu
may
leur
be
as
funny
envoyé une facture à quelques reprises
if we
peut-être
send them an
pour
invoice on a few
qu'ils mouillent
occasions.
leurs étapes
Maybe they would
et puis qu'on puisse
take
garder
their
les gens en vie.
responsibility, and we
Tu
could
sais,
keep our city clean
avec le printemps, on a des. Même on a eu
every
encore
spring.
des
Well,
enfants
we had some children
il fallait
this
faire
year again.
le nettoyage de
School
la
group
ville
who
de Dieppe.
cleaned our city,
Il semble qu'on
the
laisse les gens
streets.
avec des téléphones. Ah, on fait
We
ça.
are leaving
Laissez
people
faire
with
le reste.
vacant property do as they
Les gens
see
qui sont
fit.
gros,
Lawn
il y a
one
quelque chose à
foot
faire.
or 2 feet tall. There's something to be done. If the council want to look at something, well, I'll present a file to show uh, what it represents. It's up to the council to see if you want the city to consider it's not the only municipality on the planet. I don't know what was done in the past, but it's something we could look at as to what other municipalities are doing, how they're acting, not acting, but what they're doing.
Merci, M. le maire, c'est tout ce soir.
Thank you, Worship. That's all for tonight. Thank you. You were at the end of 4 minutes. Councillor Duedo.
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
Thank you, Worship.
Moi, j'ai simplement un message pour
I simply have
les
one
résidents
message for the rural
en
residents.
pleine quatrième vague de la
We
pandémie.
are in the middle of the fourth wave
Le nombre
of
de
the
cas
pandemic, and the number
est
of
de plus
active
en plus
cases are increasing every day.
vraiment c'est alarmant.
And I think it's starting to be quite
Je dis
alarming.
à tous les gens de
I would
s'assurer
ask
de
everybody
porter un
to
masque
make
quand
sure to
cela est
wear a mask
nécessaire, se laver les mains
when
et
need
surtout,
exists, to wash their hands,
surtout
and
s'intervenir.
especially get
Alors,
a vaccine, be
je ne sais pas pour
vaccinated.
les
I
cliniques
think
sans
there's
rendez-vous
still
humain,
clinics
je
without
voudrais faire un troisième
appointment.
qui est un rappel qui
The
appelle
third
à s'assurer
vaccine will
rapidement
be
que
given
je
shortly.
vois pas de raison pourquoi les gens
There's
ne
no
voudraient pas
reason
se
why the
protéger
people
et protéger
would not want to
leur famille.
protect them and protect their
Merci beaucoup.
friends and family. That's all, Your Worship. Thank you.
Madame la conseillère Josée
Councillor Jose
Turgeon-Roy.
Turgeon-Roy.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Juste une annonce ou un point
Just an
d'information.
announcement or an
On va
information,
commencer
if you
prochainement
wish.
les libérations
We'll be
budgétaires
starting
pour
the
le mois de juillet.
budgetary
Donc,
process
les gens
next
sont
month
inclus. Donc,
for the
comme
year
citoyens,
2022.
les fonds
As a
sont bénéfiques
citizen,
pour
the people
participer
are invited to
et d'en apprendre
participate
davantage sur les
and to
diverses
learn
services
more
vous allez
on the
obtenir pour chaque
services
dollar que
that
vous payez pour les impôts
will be
fédéraux.
offered for
Bien
each
sûr, les
dollar
bénéficiaires
that you
ne
pay.
pourront pas
Something I didn't know
en étant citoyen, mais
as a
ces
citizen.
délibérations-là sont
And
diffusées
these
sur
deliberations
YouTube
are broadcast and
constamment.
on YouTube.
Donc, je vous
So
invite à participer.
I
Les dates
invite you
sont
to
dans le Dieppe
participate.
Mag.
The dates are in
Si
the
vous
app
voulez
mag.
savoir où
If
ils
you
se
want to
trouvent,
know where your
et surtout
money
savoir
is
s'il y a des
going
projets
and
qui s'en viennent dans
to
la
know
prochaine
what
année,
are the
vous
projects
pourrez
coming up
voir
the next
comment ça
year,
va se passer
to
durant
see
les
what will be
délibérations.
happening during the
C'est juste ça.
deliberation. That's the only thing I have to say tonight. Thank you. Good week.
Merci,
Thank you,
Madame Godbout.
Mrs. Goodboo.
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
Your worship,
Merci les membres du Conseil et du public.
members of
Depuis la
council
dernière
and
assemblée
public,
du
since
Conseil,
the
j'ai
last
participé
meeting of
aux
council,
activités
participated
suivantes
to the
qui
following
pourraient vous intéresser.
activities, and it
Il
could
y avait la
be of
réunion
interest to you.
mensuelle de
There was a
l'Association
monthly meeting
multiculturelle
of
du
the
Grand-Montréal,
Multicultural
tenue par
Association
Magma.
of Greater Moncton, known
Les
as
activités,
Magma.
il y a noté que
The
les
activities,
festivals mosaïques sont
the
encore en
Mosaic
développement,
Festival,
en
are
encore
being
espoir
developed, and
malgré
there's
les
still
défis
hope that in
du
spite
festival
of the
de
COVID challenges, the
réussir à
festival
des
will be
modifications. Alors, il
held.
est
with
l'organisation.
some
Je veux
changes.
signaler l'excellent
And I
travail
want to
qu'ils font
mention the excellent
en
work that
relation
they're
avec les
doing for the
immigrants de Municipal
preparation of
et
receiving the
tous les familiers
Afghanistan
de Dieppe
immigrants.
qui
I
vont
would like to
après
thank all the families of
récolter
Dieppe
tous
who
ces documents
participated
et
in the collection
transférer
of
environ
material
400 à
that are
600
needed
individus ici
to
chaque mois.
receive 400 to
Je veux aussi
600
remercier
people next month. I
l'adjoint
participated last week
maire,
also with
Madame
our
Noël de Café,
Mayor to
chargée de
Cafe
l'enseignement francophone et
meeting.
lusophone. Un nouveau président a été
A
élu
new
à la
president was
position,
elected,
M. Jean-Guy Vienneau, qui
and we
accepte
want to
ce
thank
poste.
Jacques Viano, who accepted the
L'équipe de
position.
Dieppe
City of
Leadership
Dieppe is
Organisation a
happy to
choisi
receive that
cette année un
organization in
organigramme
Dieppe,
élaboré avec
and
eux.
we
Les
are
programmes et activités de
glad to
l'année ont été
cooperate with them.
présentés à l'ADA et
The
celui-ci a impressionné le
report
travail
for the
exceptionnel
activities was presented. It's
l'invitation
excellent the
spéciale
work
de
they're
Dieppe a
doing. I
été
invite the
adressée
citizens
à
of Dieppe
tous les
to
accueils salariés des
continue
immigrants.
your
Nous avons choisi
warm
quelques
reception
initiatives
of
pour
the
l'année et
immigrants.
je vous en informe
And in
ici.
the next few weeks, please inform
Mon
yourself.
prochain point, c'est sur
My
un
next
thème déjà
point
abordé,
is
c'est-à-dire
one
le
that
respect
I
des sans femmes qui
raise
se suicident.
the issue of
Women Who Care, je l'ai mentionné dans le
women
passé.
who care.
Je
I
rappelle
mentioned
que
in the
les
past, I
programmes que nous
remind you
avons
that a
choisis
group
dans
of
cette
women,
organisation
I would say
seront nominés à
organization, who
l'avance
will
pour
be
recevoir des
nominated in
dons.
advance to
Je
receive
note en fait que
donation.
très peu d'organismes de Dieppe se
I
sont
noticed that
inscrits à
very
la
few
procédure pour recevoir des
groups
dons.
of Dieppe have been
Si vous
nominated to
connaissez
receive
l'organisme
grants.
Ville,
If
il
you
s'agit
know
pas seulement pour
an
l'intérêt
organization
de la femme, mais de
for the
bienfaisance
benefit
sociale.
of women
Il me ferait
in
plaisir
Dieppe,
de
I'd be
soumettre
happy to
ces
submit their
candidatures
name to be
à
considered
votre
as a
autorité.
group
Alors, je suis
to be
certain
drawn
que si vous
in the fall.
soumettez,
I've received
alors
no submission
je
last
vais
time,
avec grand
so
plaisir
if you would
défendre
spread the
votre nom
word, I'd be happy to champion a group
alors,
from
pour nous
Dieppe.
présenter cette
So,
année,
as
permettez-moi
for the
de
school
remercier mon
entrance, I would
personnel
like
des
to
écoles
thank the
d'accueil pour
staff of
leur
the
aide à la
city
santé des jeunes qui
who
nous
are
ont aidés
looking on the
à
health of
suivre
our
l'initiative.
children.
Et
Thank you
certainement,
to
je
them,
voudrais
and
aussi
certainly the public.
ralentir pendant la
Please
période
slow
d'été pour
down
prendre en considération la
when you're
proximité
in a school zone, and be
des
careful when
élèves
you meet
scolarisés.
a
Et tout
school
dernièrement,
bus on
un
the street.
remerciement à nos services
And a
d'urgence et
thank you
d'aide
to the
spécialisée pour
emergency
l'entraînement de
service
nos citoyens en
for
santé
the work they're doing to keep our
et en
citizens in
santé.
good health.
Le
We
travail
appreciate that very
exceptionnel
much,
accompli par ces bénévoles.
the work they're doing.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you and good evening.
Merci,
Thank you,
Monsieur le conseiller Lantin.
Councillor Nothing.
Rien à déclarer, Monsieur le maire.
Nothing, Your Worship.
J'ai rien à ajouter.
I
Donc,
have nothing to add.
voilà.
Excuse
On
me.
va en prendre une note.
I'll have to make
Ça
note
fait
of that.
8 minutes.
It means I have 8 minutes the next meeting.
4 minutes est passé déjà. Merci.
Thank
Bonne
you.
soirée, tout le monde.
Good
Merci.
evening. Thank you.
Il y a, je ne vais pas passer à travers de mon horaire, là, mais
Not
la
going.
majorité des événements qui ont été mentionnés, j'ai participé, mais
I
le plus
participated
important, je
in
pense, c'est
most of
comme
what was
la
mentioned, but the most
communauté de
important
continuer
was for the community to
à bien faire
continue
les
to
choses.
do things well.
Surtout la question du COVID, comme ça a été
The
souligné
whole
par
question of
conseiller
COVID,
Thibodeau.
as it was
On le sait, c'est une vague
raised by
qui,
Councillor Thibodeau,
qui,
it's a
qui
wave
frappe et qui frappe
that
dur
is striking
pour
hard.
première fois un enfant
For the first time, one
euh,
child in Canada,
au
for
Nouveau-Brunswick,
the first time in New Brunswick,
une personne dans la quarantaine.
a person in
Alors,
her 40s.
ça dit beaucoup.
It says a lot.
On souhaite que, on fait confiance à notre
We have
système de
confidence
santé
in our
et
health
aux gens qui
care
s'en occupent.
system and the people who
Mais
are in
soyez
charge of it,
toujours aux
but
aguets.
always
Merci,
be
bonne fin de soirée.
vigilant. Good night, everybody. Thank you.